If you want to practice law in the United States, there is one obstacle standing between you and your law license: the bar exam. It's one of the most demanding professional licensing tests in the world. Law students spend months preparing for it. Some people take it more than once. And right now, it's going through the biggest transformation it's seen in decades. In this video, we're going to cover everything: what the bar exam is, why it exists, who has to take it, what's actually on it, when and where it's given, how it's scored, and what's changing with the new NextGen exam launching in 2026. By the end of this, you'll have a clear, comprehensive picture of what the bar exam is all about. Let's get into it. Bar exam is a licensing examination that tests whether a law school graduate has the minimum knowledge and skills necessary to competently practice law. Passing it is required before you can legally represent clients, appear in court, or call yourself a licensed attorney in the United States. The phrase "passing the bar" comes from a historical practice in English courts, where a physical railing, the bar, separated the public from the area where lawyers and judges operated. To be admitted past that bar was to be recognized as a legal professional. That's the origin. Today, the bar refers to the legal profession itself, and being admitted to the bar means being licensed to practice law in a given state. Each U.S. state is its own sovereign jurisdiction when it comes to attorney licensing. That means every state, and Washington, D.C., has its own bar, its own rules, and its own requirements. There is no single national law license in the United States. If you want to practice law in New York, you need to be admitted to the New York bar. If you want to practice in California, you need California's bar. Some attorneys are licensed in multiple states. So why does this exam exist? Law school gives you legal education, but not every law school graduate becomes a competent lawyer. The bar exam serves as a standardized quality check, a minimum competency filter to protect the public from being represented by attorneys who lack the foundational knowledge required to do the job. It's not a perfect system, and it has critics. But that is its fundamental purpose: public protection through minimum competency testing. Before you can even register to take the bar exam, there are several requirements you typically have to meet. These vary somewhat by state, but here are the most universal ones. First, a Juris Doctor degree. In almost every state, you must have graduated from a law school accredited by the American Bar Association, the ABA, with a Juris Doctor, or JD degree. Law school is a 3-year graduate program taken after your undergraduate degree. A small number of states have alternative pathways. California, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington, for example, allow candidates who have read the law under a practicing attorney's supervision. But these are rare exceptions. For the overwhelming majority of people, you need that ABA-accredited JD. Second, the MPRE. Before or around the time you take the bar exam, most states also require you to pass a separate exam called the Multi-State Professional Responsibility Examination, or the MPRE. This is a 2-hour, 60-question multiple-choice exam focused entirely on legal ethics and the professional conduct of lawyers. It's based on the ABA's Model Rules of Professional Conduct. The MPRE is offered 3 times a year, in March, August, and November, and is administered at Pearson Vive UE testing centers on a computer. It's scored on a scale of 50 to 150. Most states require a score somewhere between 75 and 86 to pass, though this varies by jurisdiction. Almost every state requires it. The only exceptions as of now are Wisconsin and Puerto Rico. Most law students take the MPRE during their 2nd or 3rd year of law school, before they even take the main bar exam. Third, character and fitness review. Every state requires bar applicants to pass a character and fitness investigation. This is essentially a background check conducted by the state bar to determine whether you have the moral character to be trusted as an officer of the court. They look at things like your criminal history, financial responsibility, past disciplinary issues in school or prior professions, and any history of substance abuse. Full disclosure is critical. Dishonesty on your character and fitness application is itself a serious red flag. This process can take months, so most applicants begin it well before their exam date. Finally, registration and fees. Each state has its own registration deadlines and fees. Exam applications typically open months in advance. Missing a deadline means waiting for the next administration. Fees vary widely by state, but commonly range from a few hundred to over $1,000 for first-time takers. The bar exam is administered twice a year in February and July. These are the standard administration windows across U.S. jurisdictions. The exam typically takes place on the last Tuesday and Wednesday of those months. Most law students graduate in May and then sit for the July bar exam, spending the 2 months between graduation and the exam in intensive bar prep. The February exam is often taken by those who didn't pass in July or by students who graduated in December from schools with winter graduation cycles. Results are typically released 6 to 10 weeks after the exam, depending on the state. Now let's talk about what's actually on the exam. We're going to cover the current structure first, and then the big changes coming in 2026. The bar exam administered in most states right now is called the Uniform Bar Examination, or UBE. It was developed by the National Conference of Bar Examiners, the NCBE, and adopted by the majority of U.S. jurisdictions because it produces a portable score, meaning you can transfer a passing score to other UBE states without retaking the exam. This was a major innovation for legal mobility. The UBE is a 2-day, 12-hour exam made up of 3 components. Component 1, the MBE, Multi-State Bar Examination. The MBE is administered on the second day of the exam and consists of 200 multiple-choice questions across a 6-hour testing period. 2 3-hour sessions of 100 questions each. These are classic 4-option, 1 correct answer questions. The MBE tests 7 core subjects: civil procedure, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law and procedure, evidence, real property, and torts. The MBE makes up 50% of your UBE score. Component 2, the MEE, Multi-State Essay Examination. The MEE consists of 6 essay questions administered in a 3-hour session on the first day. Each question gives you a fact pattern, a legal scenario, and asks you to analyze it, identify the legal issues, and write a response applying the applicable law. The subjects tested on the MEE are broader than the MBE and include contracts, torts, constitutional law, civil procedure, criminal law, evidence, real property, business associations, conflict of laws, family law, secured transactions, and trusts and estates. The MEE accounts for 30% of your UBE score. Component 3, the MPT, Multi-State Performance Test. The MPT is also administered on the first day in a separate session. It consists of 2 90-minute performance tasks. In each task, you're given a file containing facts about a legal matter, client memos, depositions, contracts, and a library containing relevant case law and statutes. Your job is to complete a practical lawyering task: write a brief, draft a letter, prepare a memo, or counsel a client. Unlike the MBE and MEE, the MPT does not test memorized law. Everything you need is in the materials. It tests whether you can read, analyze, and apply legal resources like a working attorney. The MPT accounts for the remaining 20% of your UBE score. UBE scores are reported on a scale of 200 to 400. Minimum passing scores vary by state. Most UBE jurisdictions require a score of 266, though some states set the threshold higher, California's UBE cutoff is 272, for example. It's important to note, not every state uses the UBE. California and a few other states administer their own state-specific bar exams with different formats, subjects, and rules. California's exam, for instance, is notoriously difficult and has historically had one of the lowest passage rates in the country. Now here's where things get really important, especially if you're a current law student. The bar exam is changing dramatically. The National Conference of Bar Examiners has been developing a new exam called the NextGen Uniform Bar Examination, or NextGen UBE, and it debuts in July 2026. This is the most significant overhaul of the bar exam in over 25 years. Why the change? Research and feedback from the legal profession consistently showed that the current UBE relied too heavily on rote memorization of legal doctrine. The concern was that passing the bar didn't necessarily mean a candidate was ready to actually practice law. The NextGen exam is designed to shift the balance, testing practical lawyering skills alongside foundational legal knowledge. What's changing with the format? The NextGen exam is shorter, 9 hours total, administered over a day and a half in 3 3-hour sessions. That's down from the current 12 hours over 2 full days. More importantly, the NextGen exam abandons the old MBE/MEE/MPT structure entirely. Instead, every session integrates 3 types of questions. First, standalone multiple-choice questions, similar to today's MBE, but with a twist. Some questions will have 4 options with 1 correct answer. Others will have 6 options with 2 correct answers. You need to identify all correct answers. These questions make up roughly 40% of exam time. Second, integrated question sets. These are entirely new. Each set is built around a common fact scenario and may include legal resources like statutes or case excerpts, as well as supplemental documents like depositions or client files. Within each set, you'll answer a mix of multiple choice and short answer questions. Some sets focus on drafting or editing a legal document. Others test client counseling or dispute resolution. These sets account for about 27% of exam time. Third, performance tasks. Similar in spirit to the current MPT, but updated. You'll complete 1 performance task per session, totaling 3 across the exam. 2 of these are longer writing tasks based on a case file and legal library. 1 is a legal research performance task, a mix of multiple choice and short answer questions, followed by a medium-length written assignment. Performance tasks make up 30% of the total score. The entire exam is computer-based, and scores are reported on a new scale of 500 to 750, replacing the current 200 to 400 scale. The NextGen exam narrows the content scope. Instead of 14 subjects spread across the MBE and MEE, the NextGen focuses on 8 foundational subject areas: civil procedure, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law and criminal procedure, evidence, real property, torts, and business associations, conflict of laws, family law, secured transactions, trusts and estates, and some others will no longer be independently required knowledge, though they may appear in performance tasks with provided legal resources. Family law is expected to be added back as a required memorization subject starting in July 2028. Which states are adopting it? As of early 2026, over 40 jurisdictions have announced plans to adopt the NextGen UBE. The first states to administer it in July 2026 include Connecticut, Idaho, Maryland, Missouri, Oregon, and others. The current UBE, with its MBE, MEE, and MPT components, will be phased out after the February 2028 administration. After that, every jurisdiction will need to choose: adopt the NextGen UBE, develop their own state exam, or pursue an alternative licensure path. Notably, California has indicated it will not adopt the NextGen UBE and will continue developing its own exam. Like the current UBE, NextGen scores are designed to be portable across adopting jurisdictions. Let's talk about pass rates because they matter. Nationally, about half of all first-time bar takers pass on their first attempt. That number varies significantly by state. Some states have passage rates in the high 60s or 70s for first-timers. Others, California again being the standout, have historically had first-time passage rates closer to 40%. For repeat takers, the passage rate drops considerably. This makes first-time preparation all the more important. If you don't pass, you can retake the exam. Most states have no limit on the number of times you can take the bar, though a few states impose caps or require petitions after a certain number of attempts. Each retake requires re-registration and additional fees. The big question everyone asks: does law school GPA predict bar passage? It correlates, but imperfectly. Bar prep quality, study habits, and test-taking strategy all play significant roles. Many students who graduated with modest GPAs pass on the first try with effective preparation. Many high GPA graduates fail when they underestimate the exam. One of the most practically important features of the UBE and the NextGen UBE is score portability. If you pass the UBE in one adopting state, you can transfer that score to another UBE state, provided the score meets that state's minimum cutoff and you meet all other requirements, including the character and fitness review. This is a huge deal for anyone who might practice in multiple states or move their career across the country. Scores are generally valid for transfer for 2 to 5 years, depending on the jurisdiction. After that window, you'd need to retake the exam. For attorneys who are already licensed and want to practice in a new state, many states offer admission by motion, sometimes called reciprocity, which allows experienced attorneys to be admitted without retaking the bar, typically after practicing for a minimum number of years, often 5 of the last 7. No bar exam video is complete without addressing preparation. The standard approach is an intensive 8 to 10 week bar prep course taken immediately after law school graduation. Commercial bar prep companies like Barbary, Themis, and Kaplan have built full-scale curricula for this purpose. These programs include video lectures, practice questions, essay feedback, and timed simulations. For the current UBE, the core study strategy involves memorizing substantive law across all tested subjects, drilling thousands of practice MBE questions, and writing timed practice essays and performance tests. For the NextGen exam, the strategy shifts somewhat. Fewer subjects require deep memorization, but you'll need stronger skills in legal analysis, practical writing, issue spotting, and working with provided legal resources under time pressure. Clinics, externships, and practical law school courses become more valuable preparation than ever. Bar prep is a full-time job. Most students study 6 to 10 hours per day during the prep period. It is mentally and emotionally exhausting, and it's important to approach it with structure, consistency, and realistic expectations. So, let's bring it all together. The bar exam is a standardized licensing test required for attorney admission in every U.S. state. You need a JD from an ABA-accredited law school, an MPRE score, and a clean character and fitness review just to sit for it. The current UBE is a 12-hour, 2-day exam with 3 components: the MBE, MEE, and MPT, testing legal knowledge through multiple choice essays and performance tasks. Starting in July 2026, the NextGen UBE begins replacing it, a shorter, more integrated, skills-focused exam designed for the modern practice of law. If you're a current law student, pay attention to what exam your target state is adopting and when. The transition period between now and 2028 means different students will face different exams, so staying informed is essential. If you're thinking about law school, know that the bar exam is a real and demanding obstacle on the road to becoming a lawyer. But it's also one that hundreds of thousands of people have passed before you with the right preparation. Thanks for watching. If this was helpful, subscribe to my law guide for more legal education content. Good luck.